Philly wins the division, but guess what?
Yeah.
Cowboys come in third, behind the Commanders.
Ooh,
that's what's going to end up happening.
Wow.
All right, Mike, we're talking Dallas Cowboys, huge signing today. They signed Dalvin Cook, okay, and decided, hey, you know what, in the last few days, it's offseason, or it's like preseason, or, Jerry Jones, I guess, woke up from his nap and figured out, hey, I actually probably should have done something in the offseason. Two big signings, obviously. Dalvin Cook gets signed, but then also CeeDee Lamb. Lamb, Cook, cooking the lamb, whatever. Two big signings.
You want some cookies with your lamb?
No.
Oh.
All right, my point on this, Mike, okay, great. So you got a 4-time Pro Bowler that's in the backfield. You also have Ezekiel Elliott. If it was 2016, I might be impressed. But this isn't going anywhere. If anything, marks a desperation. I'm kind of concerned about the Cowboys this year. Starting off with a loss in Cleveland, that's what's going to end up happening. Mike, does this give you any more hope for the Cowboys this year, or am I just flailing around on this?
No, I think it gives you a little bit more hope, Dirk. I mean, look, you had Ezekiel Elliott as your pretty much main guy in your backfield there. I mean, they do have some young guys who in training camp have showed out, but it was clear, look, at this stage, Zeke carrying the whole load is probably not a great option. You bring in Cook. I mean, you've got two guys who their best years are probably behind them, but they still might have some juice left to squeeze, and it's a lot of good experience. And then, of course, obviously, yes, if you're the Cowboys, and if you're fantasy owners everywhere, it's obviously a positive sign to see CeeDee Lamb locked up for your team, who's been such a prolific receiver. Now it's time to show it, and we're talking about showing it not in September and October, but in January. Dallas has to get to a conference championship, Dirk. I think they just have to at this point, or else you basically saying, I think at this year, and they aren't a favorite to do it, but I think at this point you've got to get to a conference championship with Dak, or else you've got to start saying it's now or never, right? I mean, if you can't win in the playoffs with this guy, I think you've got to move on at some point. Am I wrong on this?
No, you're not wrong at all. But guess what? Hey, look. Guess who they play first week? The Cleveland Browns. So as a Cleveland fan, which I actually am, here's my smack talk. You ready? First, Dak Prescott. Okay, he might be decent in the regular season, but as soon as postseason comes, well, guess what? It's Pick City, baby. That's all it's going to end up be. This story's already played out. They might make the playoffs, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going to make an NFC championship, Mike. It's not happening. On top of that, you have two guys that, using a Warren Buffett phrase, might as well be old cigar butts, and you might have one last puff left in that cigar that you found on the ground. That's basically what Zeke Elliott and the guy that you just signed, Dalvin Cook, are, is that they might have one last puff in that cigar butt. That's it. On top of that, if you're moving on from Dak Prescott, what are you going to go to? The guy that threw 5 picks? 5 picks in a preseason game, Mike. That's crazy. Has that ever happened? I don't know that that's ever happened before, but if it has, it's not a good omen, Mike. That's worse. That's worse than did Ryan Leaf throw 5 picks in a preseason game? I don't think so.
Probably, and I don't know that they played that much in the preseason back in the day. I feel like Trey Lance he had 49 attempts in a preseason game, which is crazy. Dirk,
it's like you taking the old horse behind the shed and then you put it down at that point. What the heck's going on here?
It's all strategic, Dirk. These teams are going to watch the tape and be like, all he does is throw interceptions, and then maybe.
I mean, these weren't even close, though. I mean, it was clearly he didn't see the linebacker. It was literally in the lane.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. Trey Lance, you're taking a flyer on a boom bust project. But for Dallas, it's all in on Dak. I mean, that's very clearly the situation at this point. My thing is, and it's been obviously it's been in fashion to ride Prescott for the Cowboys' failures, and I don't know that that's altogether fair. But at a certain point, it does fall on the shoulders of the quarterback. You've got to produce in the postseason, and it's not like Prescott has been incredible in those postseason games. He may not be, terrible in certain games, but he hasn't produced magic, and that's what Dallas needs at this point. They've got to have someone who steps it up.
Well, they're putting too much on him, though.
Yeah.
Right? Without, a legitimate running back. Sorry, Zeke. Your best days are behind you, same thing. What we just said. Now, Cook going to the Jets, not even playing much there. Now going to the Cowboys. What are you going to do? Have Prescott throw it 60 times a game? Is he going to break the 60 attempt record?
Throw it every single down.
I mean,
go
might
back
as
to
well.
the Purdue Drew Brees offense.
You cannot hand the ball off to these two and think that you're getting more than 2.5, maybe 3 yards per carry, maybe.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We say that now, and then who knows? Maybe the Cowboys' offensive line is really good, and they're able to run it down people's throats a little bit. But yeah, Dirk, I think the point is taken. It's Dallas again feels like they're in football purgatory. And they've got to prove
Purgatory?
Yes.
Purgatory would be like at least they were doing something.
They are doing something. They're getting to the playoffs every year.
No, I'm talking off-season moves. They literally did nothing.
I know.
Name an off-season move that they didn't make in the last week.
Locked up their receiver, I guess. I mean, the point being, Dirk, it's still, there's talent on this roster, but it has to gel, and I still am not sold they have enough to win that division. I think Philly is a really, really tough out in the East.
Philly wins the division, but guess what?
Yeah.
Cowboys come in third, behind the Commanders.
Ooh,
that's what's going to end up happening.
Wow. Well, we'll see. 90s Dallas Cowboys fans, you can break out all of the gear. You haven't lost any games yet. You can rep it along with those Looney Tunes shirts from the 90s that were really big. But no, I feel as though we'll see, Dirk. It's been a long, long time with Dallas. They've been stuck in the same rut for a long time. Maybe something gets knocked loose, or maybe something has to.
And if you're a Dallas fan,
yeah,
the best game you're gonna see in Wally's World, or whatever you want to call it.
Wally's World.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry's World. Anyways. The best game you're going to see in Jerry's World this year, it's not going to be a Cowboys game. It's going to be something else playing in your stadium.
A high school football championship.
Probably.